Please, just one coin. The little girl begged to pose to Cowboy's boots, then said she wasn't human. The twin suns of Rastabin 4 hung low on the horizon, bleeding red light across the jagged canyons that cut through the dust fields. Wind carried sand like knives, stinging anyone foolish enough to walk without cover. The spaceport town of Dunefall wasn't much to look at. Tin shacks, rusted fuel pumps, and a saloon that stank of oil and stale liquor. But it was where I found myself after riding 5 days across the desert on a sputtering hoverbike that was more scrap than machine. I pushed open the saloon doors, boots caked in dust, hat pulled low, and coat torn from storms. People turned. Cowboys, smugglers, miners, all hard-eyed folk who had seen too much of life. They recognized me for what I was, a stranger. Strangers weren't welcome in Dunefall, not unless they had credit to spend. And me? I was nearly broke. I had come looking for work, maybe a bounty, maybe a trade run. But instead, I stepped back into the dusty street, squinting against the wind. That's when I heard a voice, small, fragile. Please, just one coin. I turned. A little girl stood there, couldn't have been older than 10. Her hair was tangled silver, her skin pale as chalk, and her eyes, deep violet, were unlike anything I'd ever seen. She wore rags that looked more like scraps of fabric than clothes, and in her small hands, she clutched a rag and a tiny tin of oil. Please, she repeated, lifting her gaze to me. Just one coin to polish your boots. I froze. Kids in towns like this didn't beg. They stole or starved. Something about her didn't fit. I glanced down at my boots, dust-caked, scarred leather, iron-plated at the toes. Not worth polishing. But her eyes were desperate. I reached into my coat, fished out a copper credit chip, barely enough to buy a sip of water, and held it out. She snatched it with trembling hands, dropped to her knees, and began rubbing furiously at my boots. Her little hands moved with unnatural speed. In seconds, the dust was gone, the leather gleamed. She looked up at me with a strange half-smile. Thank you, sir, she said softly. Then, leaning closer, she whispered words that froze my blood. I'm not human. Part 1. The Stranger's Secret. I pulled my foot back instinctively. What did you say? She pressed her finger to her lips. Not here. Too many ears. They'll take me if they know. My first thought was she was just some kid playing tricks. My second was darker. Maybe she was insane. But her eyes, they weren't like any humans. And when the wind blew her hair back, I caught a glimpse of faint lines glowing beneath her skin, like circuitry etched into her bones. Who are you? I asked quietly. She looked around and whispered, Name Sci. Please don't tell anyone. Before I could reply, a shadow fell over us. 3 men stepped out of the saloon, cowboys by the look of them, but not ordinary. Each wore armor plates, plasma pistols at their hips, and one had a scar across his cheek that glowed faint blue. Mercenaries. The scarred one spat into the dust. You, he growled at me. Step aside. His eyes shifted to the girl. We'll take her from here. Sci went rigid, clutching my boot like it was her lifeline. She belongs to us, the scarred mercenary said. Run along, cowboy. I had a choice. Walk away, or stand between them, and a girl who claimed she wasn't human. I stayed. Doesn't look like she belongs to anyone, I said, my voice steady. My hand hovered near my blaster. And I don't take kindly to men threatening kids. The scarred man's smile was cold. You don't know what she is. Stranger. Maybe not, I replied, but I know a coward when I see one. That was all it took. His hand darted for his pistol. Mine was faster. A blast cracked the air, burning a line of light through the dust. The mercenary's pistol flew from his hand, and the others froze. Next one between the eyes. I warned. They hesitated, then backed off, muttering curses. But the scarred one's glare promised this wasn't over. When they were gone, Sci looked up at me, her violet eyes shimmering with something I couldn't place. Relief, maybe, or sorrow. You shouldn't have helped me, she whispered. Now they'll come for you too. Part 2, what she really was. We hid in the abandoned mines outside Dunefall that night. I lit a small fire. Sci sat across from me, clutching her knees. Talk, I said finally. What are you? Her voice trembled. I'm a prototype, a creation. Not born, made. She peeled back her sleeve, revealing the glowing lines etched in her skin. They pulsed faintly like veins of light. My makers called me a synthesian child, she whispered. Half human, half machine. I was designed to learn, adapt, and survive. But they wanted to use me, to sell me. So I ran. I stared. In all my years drifting across star systems, I'd heard rumors of illegal biotech experiments, machines built to mimic life, but never a child like her. Those men in town, I said slowly, they were after you? She nodded. Mercenaries hired by my makers. They think I belong to them. Her eyes met mine. But I don't. I want to be free. For a long moment, I said nothing. Then I sighed. You picked the wrong cowboy to beg from, kid. Her lips twitched. Maybe I picked the right one. Part 3. The Hunt. Word spread fast in Dunefall. By morning, everyone knew I defied mercenaries. The scarred man, his name was Corin Vance, had put a price on my head. They came at us in the desert, 6 riders on hoverbikes, kicking up clouds of dust. I shoved Cy onto my sputtering bike, revved it hard, and tore across the dunes. Blaster fire scorched the air around us. Hold on, I shouted. Cy clung to me, her small hands gripping tight. The old bike rattled and wheezed, but she did something. I don't know how. She touched the engine, and suddenly it roared like a beast, faster than it had ever gone. Circuits glowed under her fingertips, fusing with the machine itself. We outran them, barely, but I knew they wouldn't stop. That night, in a cave hidden by canyon walls, I asked her, "How'd you do that with the bike?" Her voice was quiet. "I can talk to machines. Feel them. They answer me." I studied her, a child who could bend machines to her will. No wonder mercenaries wanted her. No wonder corporations would kill for her. But when she looked at me, all I saw was a scared little girl who wanted a chance at life. Part 4. The Choice. Days passed. We rode across deserts, through canyons, always hunted, never safe. But somewhere along the way, I stopped thinking of Cy as a burden. She laughed when I told her old cowboy tales. She hummed strange, mechanical songs at night, soft and haunting. She asked questions about the stars, about freedom, about what it meant to choose. And I realized she wasn't just learning from me. She was changing me. But Corin Vance never stopped chasing. He cornered us near the ruins of an old orbital elevator, a broken tower that stretched into the sky like a jagged spear. His mercenaries surrounded us. Dozens this time. "There's nowhere left to run, cowboy," Corin sneered. His plasma rifle hummed with deadly energy. "Hand over the girl, and maybe I'll let you live." Cy's small hand slipped into mine. I looked down at her. She was trembling, but her eyes, they burned with determination. "No," I said. Corin snarled. "Then die with her." Blaster fire lit the ruins. I dragged Cy behind cover, firing back, but we were outnumbered 10-1. It was hopeless, unless... Cy's voice whispered beside me. "I can stop them." I shook my head. Too dangerous. She met my gaze, tears shining in her violet eyes. "If they take me, I'll never be free. Please trust me." And before I could stop her, she stood. Her small body glowed, circuitry blazing like a living star. She raised her arms, and every weapon in the mercenary's hands shuddered, twisted, and ripped apart. Hoverbike screeched, engine sparking. Corin cursed, aiming his rifle, only for it to melt in his grip. "You," he hissed. "You're a monster." "No," I said softly. "I'm me." The ground shook as machines tore themselves apart under her will. Sparks rained like fireflies. The mercenaries fled, terror on their faces. Only Corin remained, snarling like a wounded beast. He charged at her barehanded. I fired once. He fell, silent, swallowing the ruins. Part 5. A New Dawn. When it was over, Cy collapsed into my arms, exhausted. Her glow faded, leaving only a tired little girl who had given everything to survive. "You did good, kid," I whispered, carrying her away from the ruins. For the first time in years, I felt something I thought I'd lost. Hope. We left Raspin 4 behind, on a stolen freighter. The stars stretched endless before us, and Cy pressed her face to the viewport, eyes wide with wonder. "What now?" she asked softly. I thought about it, about the mercenaries, the corporations, the endless chase that would follow us. But I also thought about her laugh, her questions, the way she looked at the stars like they belonged to her. "Now," I said, "now we keep riding. Until we find a place where no one owns you. A place where you can just be." She smiled. And for the first time, I believed such a place might exist.